What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to talk about SPY and the Nasdaq and many other stocks out there and break down some very important data that just came out. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a big day for the markets as we have initial jobless claims and PPI data coming out, and a couple of things about NIO and how it may be dictated by the markets for tomorrow. Before I break anything down about all this information, though, before I talk about why tomorrow is going to be a massive day again, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NIO share. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So NIO is down 0.37% for the day as of right now, and the question is, how will NIO continue to move? I mentioned to you guys that NIO was looking weaker from a technical standpoint as we now got a crossover on the hourly PPO, and NIO did sell off because of that. On the daily chart, NIO has something similar going on. I mean, we do have a crossover that happened on the daily PPO, but it's been making lower highs and it's actually weakening. So NIO is going to react to the data that comes out, and we are going to see some crazy volatility again tomorrow, but I'm going to break down what I think later on in the video. Now, let's talk about the market. What happened to the market today after CPI came out? The market was flat. SPY was at 410. Then this thing exploded to 415 after CPI came out. It was a tiny bit lower than expected, but the outlook is still not too great because expectations are still high for the summertime. And then what happened was, we gap up like this, it tricked a lot of people into buying calls, and then they rug pulled the market. The market came crashing down, right? SPY came to 410, bounced off that, and then we just crashed to 408.87. So we're just under 409 supports. This thing came crashing down. That was a crazy, crazy drop. And after we dropped like this, I think we formed a bullish divergence or something like that. Yeah, I think we did right here. We formed this bullish divergence. And then the market bounces and sees to squeeze all the way back up to 414. Then we kind of cooled off at the end of the day, closing in the 412s. Green only 0.47%. So not a crazy green day, not a crazy red day, just lots of volatility. But the majority of the day was just the market selling off, right? Most of this price action was the market selling, but we did close a little bit in the green at the very end. So very, very crazy day. I know I made my prediction about CPI. I thought it might be a little hot. It was only like 0.2% away from being hot technically. It was barely below expectations. Core CPI was as expected though, so not the best of things the market would want, but the overall numbers were signs of an improvement. But the question is, what's going to happen going forward now? Because yes, maybe CPI is a little lower than expected. Does that mean that PPI has to follow in the same way? And tomorrow the market's going to be looking at all of those things. NIO had similar price action. Basically, it pushed up in the morning, retested 8.5, came tumbling down to 8, bounced off that, and closed barely in the red. But now let's talk about the numbers. CPI was 4.9%. The expectation was 5%, so just barely below expectations by 0.1%. Core was as expected, though, at 5.5%. We could see the numbers right here. Core was as expected. So once again, guys, I mean, I don't consider this great in a way because inflation is still hot, but it is showing some signs of slowing down a little bit, at least as of right now. As we have seen this declining a bit, just look at CPI right here declining. But the question is, yes, there have been signs of that happening as of April, but what about the month of May? What about June and July? There are some expectations that we could see the market not like this. We could see CPI come up again. And if that's the case, it's going to be bearish news. There was some talk about that, but overall, the market did seem to have a very mixed reaction to this. Now, the market makers use the numbers as an excuse. Looking at the numbers for April 2022 to 2023, all items were up about 4.9%. Cereal, in particular, went up about 12%. Looking at energy, we saw some decreases for the food section. Energy was a little bit different. Gasoline right here specifically Some decreases were mentioned right here. Uh, I believe that we might see energy start to go up soon. So this could be have an opposite reaction. And other than that, I mean, most things are very similar to March. Not a whole lot went on. But here's the thing. For tomorrow, we have Disney earnings and Roblox. Let me just note that. And the bigger thing is going to be the PPI report. That's coming out for tomorrow, an hour before the market opens. PPI is going to be like CPI from the producer or wholesale side. That's super important. Now, the expectations are quite low, though. I want to note that. The expectation is only 2.4% for PPI year over year, and core is expected to be around 3.3%. So, with CPI just barely meeting expectations, or I'm sorry, just barely cooling off, what if PPI does cool off too, but it does not meet expectations? That's what worries me a little bit because the expectations are very low. Right? The previous report was 3.4%. We're expecting 3.3% for core, and the market wants 2.4%, and the last time it was 2.7%. So what if we get like 2.6% or 2.5%? It could be a little bit above expectations, still showing signs of a decrease, but I would be very, very careful, right, with these numbers because, like I said before, the expectations are very low for PPI, and that could have a negative effect on tomorrow. Now, initial jobless claims are coming out for tomorrow. We are expecting this to be hot. We want high numbers of initial jobless claims. The forecast is 248,000. Let's hope we get that. And then we also have the Fed Waller speaking tomorrow before Bowman on Friday. So we have some Fed speakers, we have PPI data, and also initial jobless claims. PPI has been just dropping really hard. We want to see this continue on this trend. It's very likely it's going to be a low number, somewhere in the twos, but I don't know if it's going to be higher or lower than what expectations are. My guess would be very close to last month's. I just don't know if it's going to be hotter than what we're expecting or lower. And we have to be careful with this. I mean, once again, PPI is very manipulated and very mixed. NIO had good volume, 47 million, thanks to it pumping in the very beginning of the day. But looking at the short volume, it's coming down a bit. Price price ratio is balancing, but there's not much else going on. The chart's in a very, very boring state right now. So for SPY, if we're bullish on SPY, we need to see this thing break above 414. On the daily time frame, you could argue there's like a head and shoulders like formation. Yes, it is technically valid. Technically, we could see it come up to fill this gap. One more pump, and then this thing ends up collapsing. If we fail to break above like uh, what is it, 415, getting into like 416, then it's very likely this could play out. But on the 1 hour time frame, there is a possible inverse head and shoulders. So right here, when we zoom out, there's this possible inverse head and shoulder like formation, left shoulder, then we have a right shoulder that almost formed. If it continues to break out, if it breaks 414, we could see the gap get filled to 415. If it breaks the 415s, then it might come all the way up to 417.6 to complete the inverse head and shoulder. But I don't know for sure because we also have a possible head and shoulders formation right here, and that could suggest the market has more room to get some more upside. I don't know for sure how that's going to go, though. It depends on the PPI and the data for tomorrow. But there are some red flags I'm seeing on the NASDAQ. We have a bearish divergence forming. So I'm going to break that down for you. There is technically, let me double check this. There might be a bearish divergence on SPY too. There is technically one that could be developing, but we need confirmation on that. For Tesla, it's holding above the 200 EMA, but with the market slowing down, that can negatively affect the price too. I'm expecting Tesla to just chop around a lot tomorrow and maybe make an attempt to get above 170, but I'm expecting it to react to what PPI tells us, not too much from it. But what is important is when you look at the QQQ, there's a bearish divergence right here. The RSI is trending down while the price made a higher high. We might see the QQQ sell off a little bit tomorrow, but that's going to depend on the data, of course. So I'm open-minded, but I am seeing some odds that favor that. So we might see the QQQ cool off a little bit tomorrow. And then for the SQQQ, here's what's interesting. The SQQQ is forming a bullish divergence right here. Bullish divergence is forming on here. It's likely going to bounce and try to get back to 29 to 30 very soon. Now, the VIX is at just under 17. There's not too much going on with it. Not really seeing a divergence or anything. Yeah, not too much is going on with this. it could just trade sideways from here. You could argue that the VIX is due for a bounce because we have almost a double bottom like formation. I wouldn't count on that just yet. I would just be very patient with this. Not really seeing too much on the daily either. I mean, the VIX is pretty much in an indecision mode. Not too much is going on because of the market's volatility. But now let's talk about NIO. For NIO for tomorrow, here's what I'm seeing. We have a double top around the 8.5 area. NIO has this gap down here in the sevens I was looking at earlier. Down right here around 7.6. So if it breaks below 7.9, it's likely going to start heading there. But for now, it's holding up. Now, one problem I see with NIO is there's a possible head and shoulders like formation developing. So if NIO does end up gapping up tomorrow, but if it rejects off like 8.3, then it could see a rug pull down to 7.9. NIO bounced off 7.85 just yesterday. That's very close to 7.9, which is what I predicted. And I am seeing signs that we might open up very close to where we are, then see another sell-off tomorrow and a bounce off 7.9, and us closing a little bit in the red again. That's what I'm seeing for NIO. Things could change by Friday, but I'm not too fixated on that idea because I'm always open-minded because of PPI and initial jobless claims as the market's going to react to big data. Okay, so with that said, I want to thank you all for listening. I am seeing a flat day, maybe a somewhat red day for the markets tomorrow. But I'm not too confident about that because it depends on the data, of course. So let's just be patient and see how tomorrow goes and just get ready for it. For SPY to turn bullish, like really bullish, we have to break and hold 414. For us to turn bearish, we have to break below 410 and hold it. For now, we're just in the middle, so we'll see how that goes. But I am anticipating a move to the downside sometime tomorrow because of the bearish divergence on the QQQ and NASDAQ and also on the SQQQ. So the odds are favoring that, but always be open-minded nonetheless. I'm sorry I can't be as confident about my predictions. It's depending on data, and I'm not a fortune teller. I don't truly know how it's going to come out. Okay, thank you for listening. I have some merch for you guys if you're interested in buying anything. If you want to buy a hoodie or a shirt that says to the moon, please check it out. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very, very soon. You could get up to 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,000 if you sign up with my link down below. This is a limited time offer. Check it out. All right, guys, so expect lots of volatility tomorrow and get ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a crazy day. NIO and the market to the moon as the long term is still incredibly bright. And peace out.